Nike just released a brand new commercial featuring Caitlin Clark and her new Kobe shoe that she released today. There's a shot when she's in the locker room and she opens her eye and it like turns into what looks like a snake eye, but when you zoom in, it's actually the Kobe logo in her eye. And as you know, Kobe's nickname was the Black Mamba. I just felt like across the board, this commercial was a 10 for 10. And a lot of people have been getting on Nike because they don't feel like they have been promoting Caitlin as much as they should. But
The reigning MVP of the WNBA just essentially accused its biggest rookie star of being famous only because she's white. This entire firestorm, which has now spiraled into a full-blown crisis, was ignited by a single sneaker, a Caitlin Clark branded Kobe shoe that sold out in less than 5 minutes. That one shoe drop didn't just break the internet, it unleashed a torrent of bitter jealousy, accusations of backstabbing, and a corporate conspiracy that now threatens to tear the entire league apart. While millions of fans were left with nothing but error screens, a much darker game was playing out behind the scenes, and the battle for the future of women's basketball had officially begun.
So Caitlin Clark's signature PE Kobe Bryant shoes came out today. Now, news is coming out that the shoes, like I stated, was sold out in about 10 minutes. With all that being said, man, I ain't wasting no time. Let's head on over to X, pull it up right now. Now we do know Caitlin Clark Nike commercial dropped yesterday as well, and a lot of people probably didn't know this, but it was a reason why that Nike commercial dropped yesterday when it dropped, because it was to coincide with these signature Kobe PE shoes that came out. Now,
the chaos began at precisely 10 a.m. Eastern Time. For weeks, the internet had been buzzing with anticipation for the release of the Nike Kobe 5 Protro Clark Player Edition. On release day, a digital army of fans sat poised, fingers hovering over their keyboards, countdown clocks ticking away on their screens. The moment the shoe went live, the internet buckled under the pressure.
In incredibly surprising news, Nike has decided to push the button on Caitlin Clark in a way that I think represents an increase from anything that they've done thus far. We've, followed on the channel for quite a while about the lack of promotion, the lack of merchandise, the lack of everything kind of for, Nike support of, presumably their most valuable athlete right now.
It wasn't a shopping experience, it was a digital bloodbath. Millions of clicks descended on a handful of retail sites, and the system immediately shattered. Fans were met with spinning wheels of death, checkout carts that mysteriously emptied themselves, and payment gateways that crashed and burned. For the vast majority, the shoe went from available to sold out in the time it takes to draw a breath. It was an evaporation.
And we've been waiting now for how long to get something from Nike on Caitlin Clark? How long has it been? Has it been a year, a full year, for us to get something on Caitlin Clark that is specific to Caitlin Clark? And they do it hand in hand with the drop of the new sneaker that she has, for which I'm going to include in this conversation, because let's be real. Nike has dropped the ball incredibly when it comes to anything and everything related to Caitlin Clark, including...
The aftermath was a tidal wave of pure, unadulterated outrage. Social media platforms like X and Reddit became digital support groups for the disappointed and betrayed. The posts were a mix of anger and despair. Waited for weeks, and the app crashed in 10 seconds, one user wrote. Another lamented, "My daughter's a huge fan, and I had it in my cart. Gone. How do you explain that to a 10-year-old? As the fan fury reached its peak, a dark corner of the internet began to light up like a casino floor.
So we all know this was the scene yesterday. Actually, it was the Kobe Bryant logo in her eye, wasn't a snake. I thought it was the snake eye. That's hard. Shout out to CC the Press, man. No, it was Soul Retriever that caught it. Wow, everybody thought it was a snake eye. It was Kobe logo. Now, this is the post that we're talking about. Now, this came from NBC, and I'm guessing this is overseas because the date don't add up, because it's not July 1st here in the United States. It's Monday the 30th right now.
The resale market. On platforms like StockX and GOAT, the $190 shoes began appearing almost instantly. Their prices already doubled. Within an hour, they were listed for $500, then $600, then more. The Clark effect had unintentionally spawned a digital black market. a feeding frenzy where sophisticated bots and opportunistic scalpers feasted on manufactured scarcity, while the real fans were left with nothing but frustration.
Nike finally delivers Caitlin Clark PE. Is this the first Caitlin Clark exclusive Nike commercial since she's entered the WNBA? I know she's made a cameo here, she's made a cameo there, she was featured as part of this rollout here, featured as part of this rollout there, but is this our first official Caitlin Clark solo commercial since she has joined the WNBA?
To understand the sheer magnitude of this event, you have to understand that this was never just about a shoe. This was a coronation, and it was being performed on sacred ground. By giving Caitlin Clark a Kobe Bryant player edition, Nike was doing something far more profound than just releasing merchandise. They were linking her directly to a legend.
On about Caitlin's bigger than this. She's like, why are they doing Kobe Bryant shoes and all? From some people, other people were excited about it. Like, what this represents is like Nike tying her with an already kind of iconic basketball brand, which is like their one of their biggest brands that they have, and then rolling that into what will be her shoe later in the year, that a lot of people were talking about. And these things are going to sell incredibly crazy.
The Kobe line isn't just popular, it's a sacred text in the world of basketball, synonymous with a relentless, obsessive, win-at-all-costs drive known as the Mamba mentality. Kobe's legacy transcends the game. He was a global icon whose influence is still felt in every corner of the sport. Giving Clark this specific shoe was a clear, deliberate, and powerful message from the biggest sports brand on the planet. She is the heir to that legacy.
Was due. I feel like in the past month or so, they have been tweeting about Caitlin more, and then obviously with this shoe release, they made this super sick commercial to promote it. And of course, just today, Caitlin Clark's new Kobe PE shoe sold out in less than a minute. And I saw so many tweets about this, so many people who were so sad that they missed out on this shoe. I saw that there was this one Dick's store and people were lined up around the corner, like camping out, trying to get the shoe. I also heard that Nike stocked about 14,000 of these, and that is an unconfirmed report. But
this was not a subtle hint. It was a carefully crafted piece of corporate mythology. The strategy was cemented by a viral Nike commercial released just before the drop. The ad is deceptively simple. Clark is in a locker room, focused, and the camera zooms in on her eye. In a stunning visual effect, her iris morphs, not into a snake's eye as many first thought, but into the iconic razor-sharp Kobe logo.
But the Fever Star, for those who don't know, her own player edition of the Nike Kobe 5 Protro released in Fever colors. Woo! Sold out within minutes. Yes, that's right. And yeah, they had a few more available than they did for A'ja Wilson's signature shoe. And I think Nike is, now that they actually have a timeline for the Caitlin Clark signature shoe, they're starting to change things up just a little bit with Caitlin Clark.
The symbolism was unmistakable and sent shockwaves through the culture. This was Nike in front of the entire world, passing the torch from one generational talent to the next. They didn't just give her a product, they wrapped her in a narrative of greatness, instantly placing her in the pantheon of legends before her official signature shoe even had a name. But in anointing a new queen, they inevitably enraged the existing court.
So the WNBA player Caitlin Clark has a shoe deal with Nike to sell Kobe Bryant sneakers. They released yesterday and they sold out within 5 minutes. And the only thing I have to say about this is Angel Reese could never. I'll keep comparing Angel Reese to Caitlin Clark. It's not a competition. Caitlin Clark's ahead by miles. He was the #1 draft pick for a reason, people. There are men in the NBA who have shoe deals and they can't even get their shoes to sell out as fast as Caitlin Clark.
While Clark's star was ascending to unimaginable heights, the league's reigning MVP, A'ja Wilson, was watching. Wilson is a titan of the sport, a champion, an Olympic gold medalist, and a dominant force who had rightfully earned her place at the top. She too had a signature shoe on the way, the A1. But the buzz around her release was a quiet hum compared to the deafening roar surrounding Clark.
So let's take a look at this video. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to drop the video for you. on Caitlin Clark. Yes, there's some cute things in the video, but realistically, it doesn't do much for me. Let's take a look. So here is the actual commercial. Take a look.
The disparity was impossible to ignore, and the silence finally broke. In a series of carefully worded but unmistakable comments, Wilson began to speak about the nature of fame in the WNBA. She questioned the massive gap in media attention, subtly suggesting that the overwhelming frenzy for Clark was tied more to her race and marketability than her on-court talent.
If you are hoping to get your hands on the Caitlin Clark version of Nike's Kobe Bryant sneaker, you're out of luck. They are out of stock. The WNBA star teamed up with Nike for a player edition of the Kobe 5 Pro Tro, decked out in Indiana Fever colors. You see them on your screen. They dropped at 10 a.m. Monday, and they sold out before 11 a.m. In fact, in just minutes. The $190 kicks are already showing up on the secondary market at close to double the retail price.
She never used Clark's name. She didn't have to. Everyone knew who she was talking about. It was a masterclass in plausible deniability, a public statement crafted to wound without leaving a clear fingerprint. By tapping into the highly sensitive and deeply complex conversations around race, privilege, and media bias, she was doing more than just voicing frustration. She was launching a counteroffensive.
Is part of her 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike. Think about that, folks. Now I don't know in this, I'm going to just be upfront because I don't want to mislead. I don't know if in that statement he's, thinking about including other things that, ancillary stuff that comes off of that shoe and sort of making it a merchandise thing, sort of the way the Air Jordan brand became a thing above and beyond the Nike Air Jordans that came out at first, and if he's kind of lumping all that together. But that is a massive amount of money, folks.
It was a direct challenge to the legitimacy of the Clark effect, framing it not as a product of groundbreaking performance, but as a symptom of a system that has always favored certain faces over others. The league's biggest star had just weaponized one of the most divisive topics in modern society and aimed it squarely at its brightest new talent. The battle was no longer about basketball. The fallout from Wilson's comments was immediate, brutal, and decisive. The WNBA fanbase, which had been riding a wave of unprecedented unity and growth, fractured overnight. Digital trenches were dug on social media, and armies of fans clashed in comment sections. One side defended Wilson, hailing her as a brave athlete speaking a difficult truth about the inequities that Black women face in sports. They argued she was not attacking Clark, but rather the system that elevated her so quickly. The other side saw a bitter and insecure veteran attempting to diminish the accomplishments of a rookie who was bringing more eyes, money, and relevance to the league than anyone in its history. They saw her comments as a form of sabotage, an attempt to tear down another woman to build herself up. The debate turned toxic, and soon, the conflict escalated from the fans to the players themselves. The most shocking development came from within Wilson's own locker room. Her Las Vegas Aces teammate, Kelsey Plum, publicly entered the fray, but not on Wilson's side. Plum openly defended Clark, dismissing the narrative that she was being unfairly protected by the league or its referees. This act of public dissent was seen as the ultimate betrayal by Wilson's supporters. The conflict was no longer an external rivalry. It was now a case of friendly fire, a civil war erupting inside a championship team. The controversy forced everyone to pick a side. There was no more middle ground. You were either Team Clark or Team Wilson, and the league's newfound harmony was shattered. Caught in the crossfire of this public relations inferno was Nike, the silent architect of the entire situation. From the outside, it looked like a colossal blunder. How could a multi-billion-dollar corporation, with all its data analytics and market research, so catastrophically underestimate the demand for the most talked-about athlete on the planet? It seemed like a stunning display of corporate incompetence. But as the dust settled, a more cynical and far more chilling theory began to emerge. What if this wasn't a mistake? What if the chaos was the entire point? This tactic, known as manufactured scarcity, is a powerful tool in the world of hype marketing. By releasing an absurdly limited number of shoes, Nike guaranteed an instant sellout. creating a level of organic, explosive hype that no ad campaign could ever hope to achieve. Imagine the conversations in the boardrooms at Nike headquarters. They knew the sellout, the fan outrage, and the resale madness would dominate sports headlines for days. They knew it would create a deafening viral buzz right before Clark's official signature shoe is set to be released later this year. From this perspective, Nike wasn't fumbling the ball. They were playing 4D chess. They were the cold, calculating puppet masters, intentionally pulling the strings of supply and demand to create a firestorm. This entire fiasco was just the trailer. They were willing to sacrifice a small number of shoes and absorb a wave of temporary criticism to build a tidal wave of global anticipation for the main event, a shoe release that now promises to be one of the biggest in sports history. While the world was burning around her, Caitlin Clark remained a curious island of impenetrable calm. She offered no response to A'ja Wilson's comments. She didn't engage in the social media debates. She didn't release a statement about the shoe chaos. Instead, she just continued to be a basketball player. And when a leg injury forced her to the sidelines, her true character became even clearer. She transformed into the team's most vocal and passionate leader. She was the first person off the bench to greet her teammates during a timeout, the loudest voice celebrating a made basket. Cameras captured her intensely focused on the game, shouting defensive assignments and pointing out plays like an unofficial coach. Her competitive fire burned just as brightly from the bench as it did on the court. This quiet, unshakable professionalism created a powerful, unspoken narrative that stood in stark contrast to the noisy drama swirling around her name. She became the eye of the hurricane, a zone of pure basketball IQ and focus while chaos raged. While her critics were busy crafting carefully worded tweets and giving pointed interviews, she was studying film and trying to will her team to victory from the sidelines. Her silence wasn't passive, it was powerful. It sent a clear message to the world. The drama is just noise, but the game is everything. By refusing to play their game, she was winning on her own terms. What we are witnessing is more than just a player rivalry or a fumbled sneaker release. It is a seismic cultural shift playing out in real time. Caitlin Clark's arrival has dragged the WNBA into a new stratosphere of fame, money, and scrutiny, and the league is visibly struggling to handle the blinding intensity of the spotlight. The pressure is immense, and it's cracking the very foundation of the old guard. A war for the soul of the league has begun, fought not with crossovers and jump shots, but in marketing meetings, on social media, and through the coded language of player interviews. As Nike prepares to finally launch Clark's official signature shoe, the one this entire storm has been building towards, the real question is no longer whether it will sell. We know it will break records. The billion-dollar question is whether the league itself, its players, and its fans will fracture under the weight of this phenomenon, or if they will finally unite and rise with it. Clark has become the catalyst, but for what remains to be seen? Evolution or implosion?